I could.
So,
Here we go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Alright, hopefully y'all can hear me. Does that sound good? No?
Yes, I can.
I can't hear y'all anymore. Oh, maybe that's it. Y'all hear me?
yes.
Yes, I can.
Alright. Hopefully everybody out there can hear us well. Welcome back to another sort of impromptu episode of the Unpopular podcast with myself, David Gormley, Mr. Samuel Thomas, and Knox Jarvis. Hope you don't mind if I get a tad tipsy with a little bit of mango reds while we start this off.
It's quite alright. I actually have rum and coke.
Nice. And I think Knox is a little too young for that, right?
No comment.
Oh.
No comment.
So there was a little bit of news that I wanted to bring up to you guys. It's more humor than anything else. But I have an article here that basically says that there's a girl that was having a Sweet 16 party, and midway through it, a commercial airliner dumped seepage onto the party. And they've been like put it out on the wire almost as if like she was like blowing out the candles, and then all of a sudden craps raining from the sky. I thought that was a little funny. I mean, you know, like if I were that girl's brother, I'd be laughing my ass off.
What country was this in?
What was that, Mark?
I said, what country is this in?
It's in the United States.
Oh, man, I would have thought they had some sort of regulation against dumping, waste mid-flight.
No, from what I understand, they expect if they're at cruising altitude that any waste will evaporate by the time it gets to ground level.
A lot of, I don't know, proposition in that idea.
Fox, local Fox channel had covered it. It happened on the 17th, but yeah, I mean, looking at it, it's tiny particulate. You know, like, like it literally rained on them, which is just great.
It reminds me of that. Well, I guess it's a couple of scenes from Joe Dirt. Spoilers, anybody that doesn't know that the space rock is actually a giant, massive ball of poo. What else you got for us, Sam?
Over this past couple of weeks, actually, I believe it was from 17th to the 19th. So it started the same day as that girl's little shitstorm. But Atlanta, Georgia, had a biotech summit, basically setting our policy for advancing biotechnology in the future.
Now, are
And
we
I'm
talking
going to read this off to you because
biotech as in, making biofuels out of things, or are we talking transhumanism
any
here?
anything that goes into biotech. So yes, but let me read this off of their page for you. It's called Beings. That's an acronym. If I could find it, they actually don't have the acronym listed out here, but I'm going to read this passage off of the page for you.
Just make up
The
your own
challenge
acronym.
of, I mean, I don't even. There's something about biology in there. Biotechnical engineering, innovation, something or the other. I don't know. But here's the passage. the the challenge of biotechnology as we move into the 21st century is how to harness its enormous power in a way that encourages human flourishing, shaping our aspirations for the future and formulating reasonable limits on biotechnological inquiry. We will take conversation amongst the greatest minds in science, policy, philosophy, ethics, and religion. And I just thought that you would find that piece interesting. And the reason being, there's a scientific article that I read a handful of weeks back talking about sperm cells being artificially made in the lab now. We're also getting companies like startups out in California offering 3D laser printers, to print like DNA. So like,
Right.
hopefully one day they'll be able to like print creatures and stuff off of it, junk like that, just or maybe plants or
Sure.
whatever, bacteria. I don't know, but they're kind of doing this summit to kind of hash out what's allowed and what's not allowed. And I thought you would find it kind of interesting that they mentioned religion there. I mean, I personally do not think that they have any viable reason to be there other than that some things might make them uncomfortable. And really, that's not my place to worry about that.
Can you read the specific sentence again that has the word religion in it?
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I got the grammar right.
Shaping our aspirations for the future and formulating reasonable limits on biotechnological inquiry. We'll take a conversation among our greatest minds in science, policy, philosophy, ethics, religion, and the arts and humanities.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even sure where to go with that one, just because it doesn't seem like something that religion should be involved in.
I'll tell you one thing. The part that you said that it says in the mission statement or whatever, they consider that that whole paragraph or whatever it was, the part where it says that they're looking to impose limits on inquiry into biotech or whatever it was. The only one in that list of authorities that's going to be limiting them in any way is going to be the religious figure. I can promise you that right now.
Absolutely. And it's funny because it says "quote unquote" reasonable limits.
Well,
yeah.
Guys, we don't want to be cloning sheep if those sheep won't have souls.
Exactly.
We don't want soulless sheep.
I do remember it being a big thing back when the Dolly experiments were going on. Oh man, what was it? 10 years ago?
More than that, actually. It was like 98 or 99, right?
Yeah, forever ago. That if we started cloning things, that they wouldn't have souls or they wouldn't be people anymore or whatever. It seems like an odd thing to me. But there was an actual religious exception or a religious faction that was against any sort of biotechnological advancement in the field of cloning. So I can see how there would be a need for some sort of scientific summit to come up with rules on what's okay. I mean, there are even certain things that I wouldn't consider okay as far as bioengineering goes, right? Like the Nazis performed a few of those, right? we wouldn't eugenics wouldn't be considered a moral thing to do from just about any standpoint.
Okay, wait. So my question is define what you mean by eugenics in this case.
Oh boy. Well, let's get the dictionary definition first, because we have the tools.
That's very true. The world is at our fingertips, David. So I thought I'd do this.
Okay, so
Do a little
according
subliminal advertising there.
right.
We don't have any sponsors, but if we did, do shine.
Look, I won't say that we have corporate sponsors already, but we don't.
We don't. Oh wow.
Okay.
Okay, continue, David.
So, according to the greatest resource of knowledge on the planet, dictionary.com, eugenics is a noun, and it is the study of or belief in the possibility of improving the qualities of the human species or a human population, especially by such means as discouraging reproduction by persons having genetic defects or presumed to have inheritable undesirable traits. So there were a lot of experiments done by the Nazi scientists. What was his face? Mengele, right?
Yeah, Joseph Mengele.
And they were studying how to make the Aryan race, and that meant only allowing certain people to reproduce or make children for the German race, the German master race. You know, eugenics in a more modern concept would be physically preventing someone from reproducing just because they're of some class that you think is inferior to you, or
Now, I don't think that quite would be an issue here. I think what we would be thinking about is the altering of DNA. So it's maybe not like, stopping those people from reproducing, but you would be toying with the genetics of the offspring. So, they're not, so
right.
they can be more
No,
fit.
all I was saying is that there's got to be certain fields in biotechnology that are off limits.
So,
and they would be regardless of a religious stance. Even from a secular standpoint, I can see that some
true.
fields of bioengineering would be immoral, I guess. Kind of an odd term to use.
Well, here's my question: Are you talking about when you say eugenics, David? What you just described is stopping people from being able to reproduce, as opposed to selectively reproducing, being a definition of eugenics. In that case, then if we think about it, China is de facto participating in eugenics. I mean, I remember seeing an article last week where in the next 10 or 20 years, there's going to be like half the population of China, or not half the population of China, but a significant population of it will be unmarried single men, because so many boys are being born there right now, and no girls.
Right.
But,
if you want to look at it on the macroscopic level, right? Technically, the entire planet is practicing eugenics because evolution. Yeah. But I think eugenics, the term itself, it implies some sort of active intent or negativity, to me at least.
Right. I mean, I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to, and that would definitely be cat people chimeras.
What are we talking about? Elder Scrolls,
or like, I mean, pick your poison. Either that or like oversized like tarantulas or something you could strap a saddle on. So that'd be cool.
Look, I know you love your cat, but I think your obsession is getting a little unhealthy.
Wait, Sam, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Do you have like a pet tarantula or something?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, I don't. I mean, who wouldn't want an oversized tarantula you could put a saddle
I
onto?
sure wouldn't. I.
Make it a jumping tarantula, and that's awesome.
All of my
Oh,
notes.
Just saying.
God, no.
All of my notes.
But in all seriousness, research involving chimeras would definitely be something that I would ban, unless you're talking like maybe taking traits from, like, let's say a cat, maybe something that helps them develop their ability to, when falling, instantly kind of twist their body. Potentially, figuring out like how that came to be, and then trying to see if that can be adapted
It's not a magic
to our
gene. It's
race.
just physics.
That'd be interesting.
It's using the
Right,
tail, man.
right. But over time they adapted that. They so, like, I'm just wondering if there would be a way to kind of figure out, see if there were a different way to create a similar adaptation in humans for something like that. That'd be interesting, at least. But
Well, you'd have to get the tails first. But I mentioned,
I mean,
I mentioned a while ago at the start of this talk, transhumanism. Is that something that was actually discussed at the biotech conference, or do we even know what was discussed?
looking at the site, and it's now 5 days after the fact. There is a press release page, but for the most part, I'm only seeing it's only dating up to the 19th. I'll just read off a couple of these headlines here, going from the most. Actually, I'll start off on the ones on the 19th, which is the last day of it. Innovation and equity in an age of gene editing. So there's that one that we all knew was going to be there. Does biotech need limits? Moral imperatives and slippery slopes, seeking biotechnical or bioethical consensus, which is sad because there's a logical fallacy in that title. I mean, it's
Bonus
let's see
if you
what
can
it
name
actually
word.
says in depth.
Now that I think about it, since we were on about the. Go ahead. Sam? Oh, okay.
There's mention of 3-parent embryos.
Yeah, that was a big story a while back.
Yeah. Just
So in that case,
kind of seems that they're.
If there are 3 parents, would there be 1.5 souls in the child, or just one still? I mean, these are important questions.
I mean, I don't think the soul would be affected. I mean, it's one soul is one soul. It would have the essence of 3 different people, though. Like that word? Yeah.
Whoa.
It's possible that if they had mentioned transhumanism, but it sounds like they didn't. I would have guessed that since humanism has been labeled as a religion so often lately, especially by certain governmental organizations, most notably the U.S. military.
Right.
I would have thought that transhumanism could have been placed under that category. Like, we're gonna go, talk to a bunch of transhumanist organizations about what they think about this, which wouldn't necessarily have been an appeal to a religious figure. It would have been more of a philosophical figure, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in the same way that Buddhism can be considered a religion, even though it doesn't carry much of the baggage that most religions do. I think transhumanism is more of a philosophy than anything.
exactly.
Well, humanism is more of a philosophy than anything, but the only reason we fight to have it called a religion is for certain governmental benefits.
So I continued reading into this, and it definitely says a lot about kind of the political landscape around the Emory and Atlanta area. Let me read something for you here. The scientific world is at a point where it has tools that are powerful enough to tempt us to use them, but knowledge is still limited. Still, more like mechanics and engineers or theoreticians when it comes to human DNA. There's a lot of talk about fear factor stuff. They quote Gattaca, Elysium, Never Let Me Go, Oryx and Crake movies. That all have kind of different references to these tools that are a little risky to use. And it kind of seems like, I mean, everywhere I look on here, it's about limitations. So, I mean, it's not that they're setting up groundwork for future research. Like, let's say maybe, we're going to do a research initiative trying to attack cancer, or maybe prolong, slow down aging or something like that. It would seem that all this is about what we shouldn't do, even though we could do. Which kind of saddens me.
Yeah, I'll stick up for them there. It's a lot easier to come up with a list of things you can't or you shouldn't do. It's a lot harder to come up with new research ideas for things that you should go for.
Well, maybe they're doing this kind of to cover their own ass, maybe from a PR perspective, because there's a lot of people out there who don't know what this means for us, and they're trying to say we're gonna be controlled, we're not gonna necessarily go wild with this from a layman's standpoint.
Tinfoil hat.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right about that, though. I mean, there's a reason why, there were the 10 Commandments as opposed to the 2,500, motions of the morning.
Yeah.
Thou shalt wake up facing the east, and I don't know, scrub thy taint or something like that.
That would have been much more hopeful as a commandment than, I am a jealous God, fear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some smarts there.
Isaiah 45:1, and thou shalt scrub thine taint. Oh boy.
Oh. So you guys hear any other kind of news out there?
Not really.
We could take a few minutes and talk about the whole Quiverful story and Josh Duggar.
Oh,
In case y'all haven't heard.
You mind if I duck out on this shit?
No.
I'm kidding.
Oh man.
Actually, the thing that's kind of shocked me
I mean,
is how readily
I would
Mike
say it's not worth my time, but but if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. David, you know Vinny, right?
Hold on, Sam, 1 second.
I was saying, like, the thing that kind of surprised me, I know Mike Huckabee has been slowly losing it over the years, but the fact that he's run out to defend this guy, he basically said that he still supports him, even though the man has, unequivocally done some horrible things to some defenseless children.
Yeah, well, it's not just Huckabee now. There's several other, super right-wing conservative politicians that have come out in support of the Duggars, and not just the Duggars, but specifically Josh. For those of you who haven't heard the story, actually, we'll go ahead and sum it up real quick. Josh Duggar is part of a family who's super conservative, Protestant, maybe even consider themselves Baptist. I don't know the exact sect of Protestantism they like to claim, but they're part of what's called the Quiverful movement, and basically they try to have as many kids as possible because children are weapons to be used in the war of saving lives. or saving souls, technically. And the more kids you have, the more evangelizing you can do. So they have 19 kids, I think it is, and a reality show on TLC, which is an American broadcast channel. And
By the
it
time
basically
the eighth came out, they just started walking out. By the time the 15th came out, they started walking out with cigarettes and cigars.
she doesn't even have to go to the hospital anymore to have a kid. It just happens one day. She's making a sandwich for one of
Squish.
the other kids.
Here's the other question I had, because I hadn't really read an article on this. I just heard what some of my friends had posted on Facebook, to be honest. So I haven't done a whole lot of due diligence in this, but isn't it true that he wasn't a minor when all this happened? Like I saw something about him being.
No. Okay, so I'll finish summing up the story. So Josh Duggar is one of the kids, and I don't know which one he is in the line, but he was 14 years old at the time, technically. So he was 14, and he did various things to sexually molest and harass his sisters. And I believe there were 5 victims named in the police report, and their ages were 12, 11, 10, 9, and 5. And like I said, he was 14 at the time, so 2 years older than his oldest victim, and what is that, 7 years?
My question then would be. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say he admitted or confessed what he had done, I guess, to his parents, and his parents waited a full year, that's right, 365 full days, to tell anyone, to tell the police, essentially.
So my question then would be, he's older now, so I'm not a legal expert or anything, but hasn't the statute of limitations expired, or does it expire for something like this?
Yeah, the statute of limitations has expired at this point for where he lives. I think it was 3 years or something like that.
Damn.
Yeah, so there's nothing that can be legally done in order to prosecute him anymore. But a lot of the stuff in this situation just smelled absolutely fishy to me, or if it's not.
But still, if any of the sisters wanted to press charges, they still could, though.
No. The statute of limitations on, I think technically rape and sexual harassment, sexual assault have run out completely. There are no criminal charges that can be put against Josh at this point for what he did then.
So that makes me wonder then, like, what's the viewership on that show? Is it fairly popular? Is it like Duck Dynasty where it's got like a cult following? And
I don't think it was quite as popular as Duck Dynasty, but it was still one of TLC's bigger shows. And
is it still running?
TLC. I believe that TLC came out with a statement earlier this morning that said they had fully canceled all.
Good.
All of the show. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Because if they hadn't done that, then that would be.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty fucking bad. So.
They were screaming from the building as soon as they heard the news. But the thing to me, right, is that he confessed to his parents what he had done, and they waited a year to tell anybody. Like, and get this, the person that they finally did talk to was a police officer, but he was a retired police officer and a friend of the family.
It makes me wonder what the culture is inside that family. Like, if maybe there's other things that have happened. Maybe they've actually had other similar incidents. I don't want to accuse them of anything, but maybe there's been like. Maybe it's something like they would have expected them to kind of cover it up for a little while. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, of course not. We don't want to accuse them of anything else happening, but there's a very famous statistic out there, and there's been a couple of different studies on it, but I can't recall the exact ones off the top of my head. I think the most recent numbers I've seen on it were from 2001 or something like that. But it's something like 40 to 80%, anywhere in that range, of sexual assault or sexual offenders have been victims of the same crime themselves in their earlier years, right? So the insinuation, I guess, from that is that it didn't start with Josh, that it may actually be something that's in the family beforehand. Of course I don't want to. Of
In
course
the
I don't want
family.
to. Yeah.
You're
Oh
you're
boy.
you're walking a fine line.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I don't want to accuse them of anything, of course, because it could have been just bad apple, so to speak. Um, but
Mm.
statistics are generally helpful in determining things, and um, people in the church have a long history of problems with child molestation. Catholics.
So I do have one question though. Have any of the girls gone out on the record yet, or do
No,
we
no,
not know?
I don't. Yeah,
they're
I don't think they have technically, and I doubt they will. Um, the thing is with this family is that they come from a specific sect of Protestantism that is, um, at the least, reclusive with their problems. They want to put on a good face when it comes to that sort of thing. Just take the fact that they hid Josh's crimes for over a year before telling the police, right? The
right,
yeah,
right.
even the I'm trying to remember the name of the guy, but the homeschool curriculum that the Duggars use comes from a specific evangelist. Man, I can't remember his name. I wish I could. But they have a lot of resources for teaching or for counseling, quote unquote, counseling sexual abuse victims, and all of it, I mean all of it, 100% of this curriculum on counseling sexual abuse is about blaming the victim for giving themselves to the offender. You know, so if anything, I
Yeah,
would expect these girls. If anything, I would expect these girls to feel like it was their fault that something happened. You know, and it's absolutely horrible to say because we're talking about at the least, or at the youngest, a 5-year-old girl.
yeah, yeah, man.
I mean, the whole situation is just screwed up. But
I'm
outside of just the screwiness and the criminal acts, there's something here. There's a little nugget to the story that I think extrapolates to the rest of religion, and it's a deeply ingrained problem that I don't think religion will ever get over.
yeah. I mean, the main reason why I'm not all too fond of just discussion about this, I told this to Vinny the other day. There are other things that are going on, and it's kind of sad that this is what's taking over. The line at the moment because there's trade agreements being made. There's gonna be a Atlantic to Pacific Railroad uh, going across a portion of like I forgot which country, but China's going to fund the building of it. It's going to go from go to the Gulf from the Pacific, pretty much. Um, and there's also the whole issue with in these trade agreements whether or not there should be limitations on artificially devaluing currencies. Um, and it's things like this that aren't being reported about because
Because
what's
we're talking
trending
about a
now
family with
is
19
what
kids
matters.
and a diddler. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, pretty much.
I
And I
understand
mean,
that.
all I gotta say, how many other families in the United States have had issues like this. It's probably a lot more than you would think. And just because these people, I mean, I know like there's this whole thing where people like to just say, "Oh, look, hypocrites" or something.
Yeah.
I scoff at it because I feel that news agencies could be doing more with their time than talking about this.
Well, I'm sure you already know my feelings about the news media already.
Yeah.
But you know,
The trending media, you mean?
Yeah. The Twitter media. The Twitter
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from. There's a lot more important things in this world that we need to worry about. There's, umpteen million starving children on this planet that we could be spending our time talking about and attempting to actually help rather than talking about a family in middle class white America, who had a son that did a crime. Um, but I think it goes beyond this one family, right? It goes back to what I said earlier. I think there's something here that speaks to the very heart of what religion is, that I think a lot of people are starting to see and will see because of this story, or at least I hope they will.
Yeah. Right.
Like Knox was saying, freaking Mike Huckabee and a couple of the other super right-wing candidates for president in 2016 have gone out and actually defended the kid. It's the
Yeah.
religion, it's the religion circling the wagons, so to speak, around
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
person. It's like
They're trying to turtle shell the kid.
Yeah, yeah, and it speaks to something else that's bigger than just that family or just that one crime or just that, just this situation. It speaks to the entire nature of religion.
I can see what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, anyone who pays attention would know that this is already an issue. That these public officials have no problem stepping forward and defending this kid. I mean, because there have in the past been officials that say that there are natural defenses against rape from the female body and stuff like that. So I mean, it's like I think this thing is a little more common in the United States than anywhere else, because I mean, there may be some people that think along those same lines in Europe somewhere, but I think I would have heard about it by now, so it's just kind of.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find it just about
Yeah.
anywhere else.
Yeah. And I mean,
especially in the first world.
What really baffles me is that there are families that will have that many kids to counteract
Right?
try and counteract secularization, right? And it's like, man.
Well, yeah, and the Quiverful movement is one that I've had strong negative feelings for a while, just because the entire mindset of the Quiverful movement is that your children are a weapon to be used, and you're waging a war against anyone who's completely secular.
Well, I mean, yeah, and it objectifies the kids, and that kind of makes it easier to imagine something like this happening.
Right.
When you start viewing kids at less than human beings and seeing them more as a tool, kind of like a lot of religious organizations do, which is why a lot of them have, or at least I don't want to say a lot of them, but a good portion of them. That's how they justify missionaries and things of that nature, and especially indoctrinating children. It doesn't make it that hard to see why we have a lot of these cases of children being abused, whether physically or sexually or emotionally.
Right. Because to the movement, they're just things to be used.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, not to mention, like if you grow up kind of like putting your kid in an environment like that, that kind of makes them more susceptible to like vulnerabilities that let's say cults look for. Like they start these facilities, like out in the Midwest or whatever, like they're interbreeding, creating their little own community or whatnot. Like it's people like that kind of gravitate towards those sorts of things.
Right.
Personally, if I were a Christian and I had children, I would I'd let my kids come to their own thing. I wouldn't kind of. I mean, your children are individuals, and if you try and damper that, you're doing far more damage than you are anything else. Whether or not you think you're protecting them.
Right. Yeah, I would agree, even though I hope I never, ever have children. No offense to you people who already have children, but
Well,
I do not.
I mean, that's
Wait,
what.
but how are we going to counteract this whole Quiverful movement?
Yeah,
man?
that's the crazy
It's
part.
doesn't people
So
need to
all
be
the-
having.
Yeah, all the people who are
We
like
can just make
for-
clones.
Yeah, all the people who all the people who are for progress don't want to have kids at all, and then all the people who are like trying to spread this religious nonsense, like
Right.
breed like freaking rabbits. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the plot of a film called Idiocracy, and if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it
yep.
because it's hilarious. I mean, it's got to be
Man.
older than 10 years now, but it's still a pretty funny film just because the story is relevant. All right, let's move on because we don't have a ton of work. Sam, look, we still don't have corporate sponsors.
No. I was referring to no more water fountains, right? Soft
yeah.
drinks, irrigation.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
Just yesterday, Ireland had a pretty cool political vote, and they finally become the first nation to ever legalize gay marriage by popular vote.
Woo!
Right?
Huh.
Woo! So that's a good thing to counteract all the negativity we've had with the Duggars. What are your guys' thoughts on Ireland there?
I'm actually surprised, man. I mean, the Catholic Church had a hold on Ireland for so long, and still in a lot of ways does. I mean, isn't their constitution, if I remember correctly, doesn't it have like a lot of theocratic elements to it? Actually, yeah, no, it does. I think I read it recently for my this class I'm in, because we had to read a bunch of different constitutions, and I remember seeing something about it having Jesus Christ and stuff in it. But yeah, I mean, that's great. I mean, having come off, the latter half of the 20th century being dominated by the Catholic Church in a lot of, ways, for them to be the first country to do that, that's huge. That to me is like Russia doing that.
Let me make sure we make the distinction here. We're talking about the independent country of Ireland. I'm pretty sure that had the vote. Northern Ireland, which is a part of the United Kingdom, still does not have that distinction yet. And as far as I'm aware, the Catholic Church and just the church in general, religion in general, still has quite a stronghold in Northern Ireland. So it might be a much more difficult problem. But again, caveat: this is coming from a person from the United States who has not the best knowledge of European politics, so I could be completely wrong on all of that.
Yeah. Northern Ireland is the southern United States of Ireland.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. You know what? Maybe we should do an entire podcast talking about our upbringing and just being openly secular or being secular, period, in the South, because we're all from southern United States. I'm from Georgia in particular. Sam, I think you're from around here as well.
Yeah, I was born in
Knox, I have
Texas,
no idea
raised
where you're
here.
from.
What'd you say, David?
I have no idea where you're from.
I was born in Atlanta. I've been in the same place for 20 years.
Yeah, so we've all grown up at the very least, in the South. So it might be interesting just to share experiences. on how our upbringing was being secular. But I think we're just about out of time for now. Y'all have some closing thoughts?
Well,
Um,
I do have one more little bit of news. Just one thing.
All right, what you got?
Japan pledged 55 billion yen to the Pacific Islands to help combat rising water levels and global warming efforts and stuff. So
Global
there's that.
warming is a liberal myth.
Right. Right.
Oh boy.
But I mean, we also have our own issues. Like over in California, I wouldn't put it past there being an exodus if things keep going the way that they are over there. I mean, just like severe droughts, high temperatures. Heck, there was a period of time where I may have wanted to live in California. I don't think I would anymore, though.
It's kind of funny how humanity tries to find the most difficult places to live in, or at least Westerners, right? It's very strange because we just try to live wherever the hell we want, regardless of how difficult it is.
Yeah.
There's nobody in
It's
the
like, oh,
Sahara
look at this
Desert.
hill. It's nice.
Yeah, there's nobody in the Sahara
Yeah, I
Desert.
can see for
There's
miles.
no damn water there. Yeah, there's no damn water there. There's no damn water in California either, and yet we still try to live there. I don't understand it. Or New Orleans, which is entirely underwater. Yeah, we just made
Maybe
it.
they should invest into making ocean water useful. Place some plants on the shoreline, start processing ocean water.
Yeah, sure.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Why don't you patent that? You can go get rich off of it.
I mean, I actually might have something in regards to that. I don't know. I would have to build
You always
prototypes, see if
have
it works.
something. All right, but I think we're just
Shut
about
up.
out of time. So we've got a couple of different news items. The first being we're really hoping that audio quality is a little bit better this time around. If not, we're still trying to troubleshoot things. Please give us some feedback on how the podcast was. Give us some feedback on how you thought the audio was. The other thing is that we've spoken actually to a bunch of people in the community, and we're hoping to have some guest speakers lined up to come on and talk with us. And those include people like Knox, help me out here.
Matt Dillahunty, John Loftus, some others.
Yeah, I know you've spoken with Aaron Raw as well.
Yeah.
And he seemed excited about it, but we've got to get some more details from him. But yeah, so we've definitely got some big faces in the secular and atheist community, and we're hoping to line up them in the future. So stay tuned for that because it'll be interesting to talk with them. Guys, what do you want to talk about next week? Are we still gonna do the is Hitchens a good thing for atheism?
I'm all for it.
All right, so
It would also kind of be interesting to see if we can get a guest for that, if at all possible. See if any of the current up-and-comers, see what the up-and-comers' opinions are.
Maybe we can get the ghost of Christopher Hitchens to come hang out with us.
I'll get the bed sheet.
I'll get the Ouija board, or whatever it's called.
Okay, yeah, we'll have a Ouija board on and just say it's Christopher Hitchens speaking from the dead. Knox, you're in charge of moving the Ouija board, and Sam, you're in charge of sound effects.
I gotcha.
Alright, so next Sunday we'll be talking about was Christopher Hitchens a good thing for atheism? Hopefully you could hear us a little bit better this time. If not, we're still going to be sorting that one out. And I guess we'll see you all next time. Thanks for stopping by.